Welcome to another issue of Broken Not Shattered. We are excited that this month we're working a lot on She is Becoming, which is a previous series that we've done before and talking about women and the impact of what women are doing all over the world, um, the challenges they face. And at a time like this, while in the US we have one of the top presidential candidates also being a woman, I thought it would be a great time to bring in someone who I know has done a lot of work in this space globally. Um, she has worked as an entrepreneur, um, an advocate for women and not just women, people generally. Uh, Top executive in her own world, and it's a delight to always have her back on the show. Join me and welcome my guest today back on the BNS podcast, Dr. May herself. Hey, Dr. May, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm good.
Great.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thanks. Welcome to the BNS podcast. It's been a long time we haven't had you on the show, and a lot has happened since we last saw you. Do you want to talk about that?
See that. I can see that.
Yes, a lot has happened in your own personal world,
And you're, for you as well.
and for me too. Yes, I know you're gonna get me back with one of those jabs. You can't help yourself. Okay, be a good girl now for once. All right. May this month we are talking about the theme for the podcast. Hedges around she's becoming.
Mhm.
And I know people say, "Oh, she's becoming what?" A lot to do with women and women empowerment. Um, you are known for breaking away from the norm, breaking away from the traditional setups of a beauty queen, having been represented your country as a beauty queen both locally and globally. You transitioned into several different things, um, leading and inspiring women through your educational pursuits and your entrepreneurial pursuits. Tell our audience why you felt the need to do so.
Um, I'm I'm passionate about women and girls. I'm not going to say because I'm a woman myself. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe because I can relate. Maybe because I've been a girl. I'm a woman now, and I've always been someone that loved to see justice take its course. And in a world where, and living in a world where women are often second class citizens, not even just by how men classify us, but how we classify ourselves as well. Um it became even more of a hunger in my heart to basically be a part of change in my own community. And even though I've lived my life in two worlds, a bit in the Western world and in Africa, I've always tried to be an advocate for women and girls, even when I was living in the UK and now back in Nigeria. I just continue that. And I think that it's not just about how what I do for other people, but what it does for me as a person. So it's been, I feel like this is just like my life's calling. And when I'm in that place, I feel comfortable.
Mhm.
And I have come to learn that you can do that in different ways. You can do that within your family, you can do that personally, but you can also do that in so many ways. And that's what I always try to tell people these days. You can help women and girls in so many ways. There's no one way. You don't even have to have an NGO to support women and girls.
Wow. When you were talking, you mentioned that it's not only the way men have classified women, but how women have classified themselves. Can you help educate us globally, because we have audience across the globe that are watching this podcast? What do you mean by how women have classified themselves from you?
So, yeah, so I mean, you can use different examples. So, as someone who has worked in this sector for like 20 years, I've dealt with different issues from female genital mutilation to domestic violence to domestic servitude to human trafficking and to general gender-based violence. I have dealt with all kinds of the issues across different spectrum, both in the UK, in America, also in Africa, and different parts of Africa. And I've seen this play out in different ways. The general understanding is that men perpetrate this violence. But even as an anti-trafficking expert, I can tell you, for one, the statistics shows that 56% of the perpetrators of human trafficking are women.
What percentage?
56%.
Oh wow.
So I didn't say that. That's what the statistics says. Now,
Mhm.
when it comes to female genital mutilation, it isn't the men that are cutting the women. It is the women that are cutting the women.
Wow.
And they say it's for the man. So men come out and say, I don't want my woman cut, because if you even go, when we look at the aspect of sexuality, and I mean, you're a man, you would tell me you would prefer a woman who understands her sexuality. And I hear younger men say, I like older women because they understand themselves, they know themselves, they're confident in their sexuality.
Correct. Correct.
And how, when there is something that takes that away from a woman, how does that pleasure a man? I'm not saying that there are men who actually promote FGM,
Mhm.
but not the way we think it is.
Yeah.
Even when I'd spoken to people within communities where this is practiced,
Right.
you would tell, men will say, we don't want it. And the women will say, we have to do it. It's culture, it's tradition. We have to do it. And because it starts to represent something for women beyond men, it starts to
Mhm.
change from what it was meant to do to something else completely. And you would even see that. I mean, today, yesterday, I would say I was thinking about the vision of Raising Women Initiative, and we envision a world where women are truly free.
Mhm.
Freedom is something that women don't even give themselves.
Mm.
Freedom,
Wow.
freedom when you're a mom, that mom's guilt is so deep. No one is telling you you're doing anything wrong. You're telling yourself. But even among that, it is the women themselves that, oh, you're a lazy mother. So women don't even allow themselves
To enjoy themselves.
to enjoy themselves, to be human.
Right.
And the judgment comes from us,
Yeah.
fellow women.
I just personally think that women are not good to other women. Period. I don't know why,
I
but I
don't
look,
think it's
I
general, but
look at
I
it
just
generally. Every time there's a problem somewhere, it's when women are putting other women down, and I don't understand it, but I guess that's why we have people like you advocating to raise women up and not just tear them down. As the executive director of Women Raising Women Initiative, um, this is something that you passionately believe in. Where did the heart and personal experience? What is the heart and personal experience behind this drive for activism? Is it a personal experience? Is it a challenge you went through? Is it something you've seen? Because you've been doing it for a long time, May.
I would say I've had my own personal experiences. I wouldn't say it's just my experience, it's also what I hear and what I've seen. Um, and being in this space for as long as I have done, um, from when I was when I was way younger, I find that girls are not given the space to speak. And my advocacy actually started with asking the question, why can't a girl have a seat on the table to speak? Why is it that the women are the ones talking about the girls? Where are the girls? I keep asking this question, where are the girls? And that's the reason why when you look at the projects we have on within our organization, is usually focused on girls as opposed to women, you know. And I just wanted to make sure that we don't lose the voice of girls, because the women who we see today, who have traumatic experiences, started with being girls who were not heard. Today we hear stories of women that came from girls who were not heard.
Yeah.
So why don't we just make sure that they're heard, so that we don't have to hear those traumatic stories? And
Mm.
that's what we are trying to do, catch them young. Our agenda this 2024 is girls to women. Invest,
Girls to women.
yeah,
Uh,
invest, include,
can
and inspire.
what was that again? Sorry, I missed something.
Girls to women,
Hmm.
invest, include, and inspire.
Wow.
And what we try to do with that is really, when we engage women, we tell them to remember when they are girls and use that to interact with the girls.
Wow.
We're about to have our Raising Girls Summit come up next month, and that's the theme, girls to women. So I feel like women need to be as educated about, or reintroduced to the experiences of being girls again, in order to really be a support to the girls.
Share with us a little bit more about the upcoming summit. What's the drive? Who are your guests? What's the plan? And then I can go back to my questions, because whenever I hear you do something like this, I think it's a good platform for you to just talk about it.
Oh, okay.
I know you're very modest when it comes to things like this, but this time I want to push you a little bit further. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So as we have our Raising Girls Summit on the 31st of October. It's usually we usually organize this on the 11th of October, which commemorates the International Day of the Girl Child.
Right.
However, based on several logistics, we decided to move it for 31st of October, still within October. And we're hoping to have guests from the Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy. The minister has been so amazing with ensuring that girls, are educated within the ICT programs. And
Okay.
he's doing amazing there. We want him to come talk to us about what he's doing and his future plans. We're inviting some people from the government institution, from other government institutions, but also most important guests, over 500 girls who are going to come from different secondary schools. It's going to
Oh,
be
wow.
happening in Abuja. And we're really, really, really looking forward to that. And the focus is really going to be education, leadership, and health and well-being.
Wow. Education, leadership, health, and well-being.
Yeah.
Let's talk about leadership. Do you think that the 21st century woman has overcome the challenges of positioning themselves in a place of leadership?
Um, I think that we're making a lot of progress, not just in making sure that we're equipped to take those positions, but also ensuring that we amplify our moves into those positions. If you see today, there are a lot of organizations who are doing a lot to ensure that
Yeah.
they spotlight these women, and because until young girls girls begin to see women in those positions, then they begin to aspire. So it's one thing to have women in those positions, and another thing to communicate that to the public and recognize them for making those bold moves. And women are really, really making a lot of
A
bold
lot,
moves.
lot of bold moves. You're right.
Yeah.
A lot of bold moves. So you think that there's some kind of stride going on so far. They've made some progress, but there's still much more progress to be made.
I mean, definitely there is a lot more progress to be made, but you need to really acknowledge how far you've come in order to move even further. And I know that there are a lot of women who are getting educated. So we're not going to lack women who are going to take up, great positions. And, what is happening these days and globally is to ensure that spaces where there are a lack of women, are making sure that women are getting more educated in those areas in order to have a shot at positions in those critical areas.
Hmm. All right. Before we take our break, let me just pull you into the American politics. They We have two top candidates. One is a female, and one is a male. I know that you guys have featured a bit about her in one of your
Mhm,
magazines.
mhm.
What's your take on that? Where do you see that? What do you think? What do you think that the Vice President Harris would becoming president would bring to the woman's world, generally speaking? If you have someone who is female being the most powerful person in the world as a leader.
To me, I always say that we need to be very, very realistic with our expectations on things. It's funny how people expect so much from Kamala Harris because she's a woman. And on one hand, I think it's quite unfair. Why do I think so? And it's because if it was a man, we just have an equal expectation that's just another president, and we judge them for the things that we expect them to do in the follow-up of what we need, the change we need to see in our community. We don't even talk about whether he's a man or anything else. In history, you know, we never had the first person who pioneered anything do better than those who did it 10 years after, 10 times after, right? So if we had a 10th president, 10th female president in America, then we can judge fairly. But
Okay.
we are having the first person, first female president of America. It is going to be unfair on Kamala because, you know, just like Barack Obama,
Hmm.
it was unfair on him. First black president.
Hmm.
Till tomorrow, he will never fill the gap that everyone expected him to do because they've just given him a really long rope and asked him to tie. So what I'm trying to say essentially is that I would be happy enough that she's a woman. You know, I want her, she would definitely do something.
Definitely.
She has the experience to do those
God
things.
does have the spirit.
Just like every other candidate, just
Can-
like
Yeah.
they all have something to offer, but
Mhm.
they're as good as their weakest team, weakest link
Right.
for all of them.
Mhm.
But for Iris being the president of America is going to be symbolic, just like Obama was symbolic for everyone, for every black person, for Iris, for women to attempt it again, to aspire. And for me, that is enough.
Wow. And on that note, we're going to take a 10-second break. When we come back, we'll dig some more about raising women.
Okay.
Welcome back to the Broke and the BNS podcast. My guest today is Dr. May Ikora. She is Executive Director of the Raising Women Initiative and done a great work in this space over the last 20, 25 years. Welcome back again, May. May, before you left, the last thing you said was VP Harris becoming president. As a woman, that she would do much more because she's experienced to do more, but just showing up in that role is enough for you. Um, I agree. I have two beautiful daughters, and I know that they're looking up to other women around them to see what they're doing at whatever capacity it is. Um, but in the society where you live,
Mhm.
it's a different ball game. I know there's a lot of challenges on the African continent when it comes to the girl child, um, but strides are being made. Do you think we're making enough strides on the continent to actually inspire younger girls? That's first and number one. Number two, the women who have been given position, have they done enough or have they fallen short just like the men?
I would say Nigeria is a special case, really. We've seen women being given positions or appointments in Nigeria that have done amazingly well. You talk about Dora Akunyelu, talk about Okonjo-Iweala. They are very prominent for the difference they made in the positions they were given. And you can see that even for Okonjo-Iweala, even on a global stage, she still represents. I think what's going on in our community and our country these days is the lack of consciousness of the what the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325 says about female representation in politics, for instance. And when that was pretty new, you would find that if you look at Jonathan's regime, there was a good percentage of women in leadership position, and there was a great consciousness of that, because perhaps that was when, on a global scale, that conversation was very, very heightened. I mean, I remember I had to carry out a research in Mozambique, Rwanda, and Ethiopia, no, Burundi, Rwanda, and Mozambique. And it's very interesting to see that in Rwanda, for instance, that having women in political positions was very, very prominent, and they met their quota system. The quota, as agreed globally amongst all states, among the states that are part of the United Nations. Today, we're not even actually thinking about that. I don't even think people are even conscious of that. I mean, look at the Senate today in Nigeria. Very low representation of women. I think is the lowest in a long time. However, there are women in little positions here and there. Don't get me wrong,
Right.
but in the general sense of top positions in the top decision-making positions in Nigeria, it is a bit lower than it has ever been in a long time. But are we seeing women in leadership positions elsewhere? Absolutely. In multinational organizations, we're beginning to see the growth of women. So it's not just about politics.
Right.
It's also about, other aspects of work, of the workspace. So we've seen that, and we're getting to know them better, because we are now seeing that the media are begin to project women in leadership more than it used to happen before. So the media are becoming very, very conscious of that. So definitely there is a change. There is also a change of mindset, even for women here, despite the fact that we don't have that up to 30% of women representation in politics. Women are aspiring more, and thank God for social media. Women are beginning to know what other women are doing, and it's helping them aspire for more. So I think that more women have the confidence to really rear their head now.
Well, that's good news. I'm glad. I'm glad that a lot of that is happening. I think this is just me. I know I'm going to get backlash after this, but I think that women make better leaders than men. That's just my personal opinion. I think women, if they're given the opportunity to lead a country or lead an organization, most of the time they make better leaders, because they have a tendency sometimes to be more open-minded and able to see things on a broader perspective. Unlike men, we're focused on whatever that goal is. If it's making money, it's going to be money driven, and then we forget the humanitarian aspect of it. So I'm glad that a lot of things are changing. I look forward to the day when your country will be able to have a female as the president, and that time is coming, and it's coming pretty soon, because these old men are doing just absolutely nothing. All right, let's talk about the magazine. The new magazine that is out is called Raising Women. Where are you going with that? What's the plan?
well, well, Raising Women magazine is really mainly an advocacy, really. Just like you said, you can't encourage girls to do more when they can't see women doing more. You've got to see yourself, you've got to see people that look like you in great positions in order to aspire. So what we do with Raising Women magazine is basically to, amplify or spotlight women who are making real change, who are breaking barriers, and not just women, also men, organizations that are including and investing in women. So we're hoping that one of our issues in October would feature a man on the front cover, which we've not had that before. So yeah, so and we're talking everything from finance to stories, women's stories, to opinions and perspective on issues that relates to women, or how some certain issues relate to women. We talk about beauty, style, arts, culture, architecture. We don't have all these segments come out at once, so it's just like we play with at least six to 10 segments in one issue most of the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where can it be found? Is it digital? Is it
Yeah, yes, it's a digital magazine, can be found on our website, which is Raising Women, so rwimagazine.com.
so? It's what again? R W
RWI,
I as in one. Yeah.
yeah, RWI as in I,
Okay.
magazine.com.
Okay. .com.
Yeah.
All right. All right, guys, put it up there, please. RWI magazine. All right. And is it a monthly or quarterly magazine?
So, good question.
Does it
So far, so far,
he just come out whenever he wants to come out.
no. So far, we've been producing every twice a month, so like
Wow.
almost every 2 weeks. And just basically, we always have a theme based on what the calendar tells us. So next issue might be looking into fertility and everything fertility.
Ah,
Um,
thank God. You brought fertility. Let's talk fertility.
yeah.
Do you think,
So
what is your position on a woman's right to access to fertility and control over her body? What is your opinion?
Um, I mean, some women might not like this, but I'm pro-choice. I think that women should choose to do with their body what they feel, as long as they're not hurting anyone else in the process of what they're doing. Um, and these things can be, there are pros and cons for whatever choice you're making, but I ultimately feel like um, you can, you I mean, think about it as a man. Think about not having control over your body. Like, can you just imagine that?
I can't.
You know? So, it's for me, it's like enslaving someone in their own body. And so I don't think anyone should be able to choose for a woman what to do with her body. It is traumatizing.
I don't think anyone should choose.
I think it's an enslavement, personally. I
Well,
think it's an enslavement because, I mean, when you look at if you've ever been around women who have been abused, trafficked for sexual exploitation, where they don't have control over their body, people just use their body for whatever exploitative reason that happens. It almost kills a person, kills a person spiritually and otherwise. You see a human being, but they are not there. And then you then tell a woman you can't do this. Either the law or whatever kind of shackles you to its own belief systems and says you can't you can't do any. And what that does is that it endangers a woman, because when you criminalize certain things, women would never come forward. So I give an example. When you see girls who are teenage pregnancy, they're not well, families don't accept them. They go seek for abortion in the darkest
the slums of the slums.
oceans, and that kills them or ruins their life forever. You
Mhm.
know, so who's losing at the end of the day? So in anything, we just need to make sure that whatever laws that we create for women should be that one that is protective and not enslaving.
Mm. One that is protective and not enslaving. I think that's the height of it. Protective and not enslaving. Uh, I'm baffled how men think they can actually make laws for women. If it was women making this law for themselves, maybe then I'll be more easy on it. But a bunch of old men sitting down and determine how a woman. I think that's all about control. Personally, that's just my own view. Again, that's just my own view. May, we have a minute to end the show. Uh, most people are going to see this show as a very serious one because that's what I wanted it to be.
Mhm.
I want you to look in the camera. Uh, Actually, no, let me do this. I like doing this with you. If you were to talk to the 10-year-old May now, what would you tell her?
Hmm. 10 years old me.
15-year-old me. How about that one?
Oh, don't worry. I remember 10 years old me.
Okay.
I remember 15 years old me. And it's funny how you pick on those times because those two ages, I made certain decisions at those age that I don't know well, but I would say to my 10 years old self that you will eventually be all right.
Wow.
And the dreams that you have about yourself, the things you believe about yourself is very valid. You eventually became that person, so don't just keep being that strong, resilient girl. You're on the right path.
And the 15-year-old?
The 15-year-old me, I would say to her, um, everybody you lost never left. They're always, always going to be with you. It just made you stronger. That's what it did. It just made you a stronger person. This year might have been the worst year of your entire life. You're right. It was the worst year of your entire life. No year has ever been like this, but you will scale through
Wow.
stronger.
Wow. Can I push it and ask you what you tell the 30-year-old me?
The what?
30-year-old me?
Oh, wow. 30-year-old May. Yeah. Hmm. Wait, you mean what I would tell the 30-year-old May? I'll tell her, girl, you made the right decision. Gosh, it's almost like you finally woke up.
Wow. Wow. Talk to me.
Enjoy your 30s. It's a blast.
Came out from
It
my
is
shell.
a blast.
Wow. May, May, it's always a joy catching up with you and talking to you about these things. Before I end the show, please, can you just look at the camera directly and speak to that young girl and tell her whatever comes to your mind, and then we can call it a day. Go ahead, May. It's all yours.
Well, listen, just be your authentic self. Do that thing that makes you happy. Um, don't follow everyone. People will love you for being you, for just being you. My name is May, and I just want to be May and May alone. So whatever your name is, be that person and that person alone. Do not follow anyone but you, your heart. It's always right. It will never, 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 ever lead you astray.
Wow. And I know a bit of where that is coming from, but that is fine.
Well, I was that kind
I,
of girl. I was that kind of person. And yeah, it's hard, but it never leads you astray.
well, that's true. Well, thank you for your time. I know you're a very busy woman for making out this time to speak to our audience across the world. It's been a joy and a pleasure, and we hope to have you back pretty soon. Maybe after the summit, we'll catch up again so you can share some more light on how the summit went during this. And I wish you all the best, my good friend, and in all your endeavors. For all our audience who are watching, please like, click, subscribe, follow us on YouTube or any of our social media handles at the BNS Podcast. It is your host, Ike O, saying goodbye. And in our famous three words, love, peace, and more grace. Bye bye. Take care, May. Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.